Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode I'll be interviewing my good mate Hugo Campos from Sporting Continental. I'll leave the links to his team's social media as well as his own down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and enjoy the video. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Episode 3 of our grassroots series. Today we got Hugo Campos. First of all, welcome to the show, man. Mate, it's a pleasure to have you. First of all, can you just introduce yourself to the viewers?
Right, yeah. You've kind of introduced me already. I'm Hugo. I help set up Sporting Continental, and I pretty much do now all the background work on it. So I'll do the videos, the admin for the team, and everything like that.
Yeah. So going on to that, can we just have like a brief history of the club? Obviously, you mentioned to me that you folded and then you reformed last season. Just a bit of background of the club.
Yeah, of course. Sorry if it's a bit delayed, it's because it's kind of freezing and then it's coming back on again.
It's all right.
Yeah, so we first established as a team in 2016-17, and we were actually playing in the Essex Corinthians League. There's a story I get loads of stick for from the team now, is that we literally established in a KFC. Between myself and Badger, we were just saying, how can we keep the boys, make sure, because everyone, you know, as you know, people grow up and go their separate ways, but how can we keep the boys meeting up at least once a week? And football was, to be fair, the easiest solution. So that's how we came about. We spent one season in the Essex Corinthian League, and then obviously at that time most of our players were actually coming from South, so it was a bit mad to keep it going. And then we learned that there was a spot in the Southern Sunday, and then we moved to the Southern Sunday the following season. We did well in the championship. In our first season with the Southern Sunday, we finished second by 1 point. And then, but on that same season, we got to two cup finals, one being a county cup final, which we seemed to do pretty well in, to be fair. So we got to the final of that. Unfortunately, we lost to a very good Greek Cypriot team, Levadia, 1-0 in that one. And then we won the Chairman's Cup on that same season as well. And then the season after that is when it got a little bit complicated. So, and I take full responsibility for it, if I'm completely honest. Instead of going out and recruiting, what I wanted to do was just to make sure that everybody that was there for that first season were prioritized. And whilst I was thinking that, we weren't other people's priorities, and then we went wrong on that one. So there were weeks where we'd turn up with bare 11, sometimes 9, sometimes 10. So the hassle for me after that, it wasn't worth it. So that's when we folded.
Can we talk about last season? Obviously, you had the curtailed league campaign. Obviously, it got cut short due to COVID. Obviously, you had the Marcus Lipton Cup final that just went along, and the London Trophy as well. Do you think it was the right decision, first of all, before you review the season, to curtail the league season?
To be honest, us as a team, there's two ways that I can answer that. Us as a team, we obviously trying to get promoted to our Premier Division. We've been unbeaten in league games for the last 2 seasons. So it's kind of, we wanted the season to continue, of course, but at the same time, if I put my league chairman glasses on, our league, as you know, had 100 teams in it, or 99 teams, or whatever it was. And just there just isn't enough pitches being kept in southwest London for all the league games to take place. And I mean, from a selfish point of view, obviously I would have liked it to continue, but was it feasible for it to happen? No, because you can't prioritize some leagues. You can't prioritize the Championship or League One, League Two over League 5, League 6, League 7, for example. That's just not fair, and that's obviously not how Graham runs these leagues, which have been very successful, to be fair. So from that point, I think, if I'm honest, the councils that do run the league pitches should have stepped in and made something happen, because it was kind of taken out of Graham's hands a little bit. And I'll give you another example. I'm not trying to throw any council under the bus here, but from my understanding, we were told that Clapham Common, for example, who have 8 pitches, were going to close. And then they remained open, but they didn't tell our league that they were going to decide to stay open. So the last we heard from it was that they were going to remain closed. So we didn't actually know they were going to stay open. So with that being said, obviously from a selfish standpoint, I wish the league had carried on, but I understand why it wasn't.
So moving on, obviously you had the Marcus Lipton Cup final about a week ago. Unfortunately, you didn't manage to win, but obviously it was a great run for you guys to get there. Can you just go through your run to the final, and obviously the final itself?
Yeah, of course. To be honest, like I said before I get to the run to the final, like I said before, we seem to do quite well in cups. And if obviously last week or the week before even, we looked at it, it was a failure of a season, just because as a team, player for player, we're all winners, so we want to win. So anything else isn't acceptable. But if you look at our club in general, you could say in 4 seasons in the Southern Sunday, we've reached 2 county cup finals. We won one of those. We've reached 2 league actual Southern Sunday League Cup finals. One obviously cancelled last year, so we didn't manage to play that, and we won the other one. That's not including the Marcus Lipton that we've reached this time around. So that's 5 cup finals in there that we've reached, and the Marcus Lipton Cup quarterfinal last year before everything got cancelled because of COVID. So if you look at it as a whole, it's not too bad. This season, to be honest, I'm reluctant to even speak about it, because I'm not the kind of guy that will go online and make excuses and everything like that. But the cup final against Swag, it just came at a wrong time. We had so many people missing due to COVID and injuries, to be honest. I had one of our players that started centre mid at midday in the day of the final told me he didn't think he could play because his hamstring was done. And that's obviously literally midday, hours before kickoff. I had messaged 2 players who ended up playing in the final to say, look, let me put you on the bench, so at least it looks like we have enough players. Both of them ended up playing. One of them had a boot on his leg 3 weeks before the final. So yeah, it came at a wrong time. And to be honest, even when Swag were presented the trophy at the end and we were given the runner-up medals, even the person that was making the announcement was like, injuries didn't help them. But yeah, that came at a wrong time. But you know what? That's part of football. And like I said, no one's heard it apart from now, because I refuse to go online and make excuses. We're not that team. We win, we put it up. We lose, we put it up. But the run itself, it was an interesting one. I think I would say it was a relatively straightforward run to the final, if I'm honest, except for when we got to the semi-final where we played against a team that always plays, I wouldn't say they always play well against us, but a team that always defend very well against us, Bath Old Boys, and they took us to penalties, and we actually only equalized to take that game to extra time on the 96th minute, I believe. And then we won that game on penalties. But other than that, I think it was relatively straightforward run to the final, if I'm completely honest. And then obviously the final happened, we lost 2-0. I've watched the video back of the final, and I don't think, I think the better team on the day won, 100%, take nothing away from Swag. I think on the performance of the day, they deserve to win that game. But I've watched the first half back and the second half, and there wasn't really many things created. Obviously, they scored from a free kick. Keeper got a hand to it. Should have probably kept it out, if I'm honest. And then the other goal they scored was deflected. So there's not really much we could do. It was just one of those days.
Obviously, I don't want to kind of rub it in, but you also reached the London Trophy semi-final. Sorry, were you disappointed that you didn't manage to make the final there in that competition?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, the video is out. So if anyone that's wondering and hasn't seen it, you can go and watch it and judge it for yourself. I thought, if I'm completely honest, and maybe just because I'm biased, but if I'm completely honest, I thought in that semi-final we were the better team. We missed 4 absolutely gilt-edged chances. And that's not to take anything away from Malden, but normally, okay, put it this way, that was the first game we've ever played in that we haven't scored. And that, to be fair, should say enough. I think if we take one of those chances, I think we win that game. But we didn't. So at the end of the day, that's what matters. But yeah, we were bitterly disappointed. I have players on my team that still haven't seen the video back. And they just say, no, I can't watch it, because we know we weren't up to our best, or up to the task on that day.
Obviously, we'll talk about something a lot more, happier. Obviously, last season, promoted, you won 9 games out of 9. Also, sadly for me, because I didn't win it this season, but last season, obviously, London Junior Cup champions. Can you just go through the run there? Obviously, you had a very entertaining game against Hackney Wednesday, the big semi-final against Peckham Rye, and then obviously the final as well.
Quarter-final against Peckham Rye.
Oh, was it a quarter-final?
Peckham Rye was the quarter-final. We played against the... I'm trying to remember if Hackney was our first game. I think it might have been, but there's a funny story about that. Obviously, that game was mental. Like, it was just a mad game. And I hope he watches this, but our old goalkeeper at the time, he showed up and he was wasted. He was wearing, as you do, Sunday League, he was wearing no t-shirt when he showed up. I'm not joking. He was wearing no t-shirt, no boxers. He had his jeans on with a belt, but no underwear. He had a jacket with no t-shirt underneath. He showed up 5 minutes before kickoff as well, and then got sin binned in the first 7 minutes of the game. Yeah, that was an interesting game. We were 3-0 down. Obviously, long trip for us to Hackney. We were 3-0 down in the first 10 minutes, but then after that, obviously, again, it was one of them games. It was a mad game. After that, I think we actually went ahead, and then they equalized, and then we went back ahead at halftime, and then we scored one more after. But that game, it was a very, very crazy game. From start to finish, to be honest. And then after them, I think we played, I can't remember the name of the team. It was a team from the Westford League. Apologies, I can't remember the name of the team, but I think we won that 7-0 or 6-0 or something. And then after that is when we played Peckham Rye. Now the Peckham Rye game was that's when I first met Gibbs and Duke as well. The Peckham Rye game was a good game, to be fair. From what I remember, they started off really well, and our keeper actually made a very good save when it was 0-0 from one of their strikers. We had chances. We didn't take all our chances, and I think the goal actually came from an own goal. I think Drage ran down the wing, cut inside, and crossed it in, and it took a deflection off their play, and it went in. And then we won that 1-0. And then the semi-final, till this day, is the hardest game we've played as a team. It was against Mundial. Honestly, if you go through their team sheet and you check where their players were last season, it's mad. So they had one of my mates played for them in centre mid, and he used to play for Qatar's under 21s. Their goalkeeper, think it's James Shaw at the time. He was at 2HM. They had centre back from Enfield Town. They just had loads of players from Ryman Prem, Ryman South, and then Ryman North even. And it's fair to say, smash and grab from us. We scored. Dan scored from the halfway line in the first half, and then they scored an absolute screamer to equalize. It was literally Vincent Kompany's against Leicester. That's literally how they equalized. And then obviously 86th minute, 87th minute, Drage done what Drage did last season and scored the screamer as well. So there was 3 really, really good goals in that game. But we defended for, I would say, 90% of that game without the ball because they were that good. And then the final, Muswell Hill, I think we could have been 3-0 up, to be fair, at half-time. Drage could have had a hat-trick before the half. But yeah, thankfully we won that one because we had been to a county cup final before that one and lost. So I was happy to win that one, to be fair.
I just wanted to know, obviously we talked about last season and season before. Just want to know your aims and objectives going into next season and into the future as well.
I think for us, the main objective has to be to get promoted at this point in time. We just obviously we were denied it last season because obviously this season got curtailed. So the main objective for us has to be to get promoted. We had our first league game Sunday just gone, actually. Started off shaky, but thankfully we came out of it with the points. And I think we just need to keep going in that manner. I think the main thing now is to get we've got a few new signings. We just got to get everyone to gel, and just keep going from there. The main thing for me personally is get promoted. Obviously, a lot of the boys want to get to another cup final and they want to win the cup final, and obviously I do too. You want to win every game you're involved in, of course. But the main objective for me has to be to get promoted, and then in the future, so for example next season, we'll have to look at the objectives again, of course. And the aim will most probably be to win that as well, or finish top 2, top 3. Now, to be fair, if you're finishing top 2, you want to finish first, right? So yeah, top 3 would probably be the aim. But for this season, get promoted, probably have a decent cup run, get to a cup final and win the trophy.
Yeah, I was just saying, can talk a little bit about the strength of obviously the Sunday football scene in the south of London. Obviously, you've got OBSFL, Westphal, CMSFL, Southern Sunday. Can you just give me your views on the strength, obviously, of the Sunday football scene in the south of London?
Yeah, mate, it's mental. when you think about it and you look at the teams and the players involved, it's a scary thing. Like, if you're just a team looking to play Sunday just for fun and just show up like the usual, not the usual anymore, but what Sunday League was 5-6 years back, then you'd be in a lot of trouble, because most teams now in most South London leagues that you turn out, definitely the top division, maybe even second division of most of those, like the Westford, the OBDSFL, the Croydon as well. It's mad because it seems like a lot of Saturday players are now playing Sundays, of course. And to be fair, I can understand it. I think when you play Saturdays is very serious. There's like no room. Obviously, banter is everywhere, but it's serious. 3 points means a manager losing his job, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Whereas on a Sunday, it's more fun. You can express yourself a little bit more, and maybe you're playing with your mates, and that makes it even more enjoyable. So I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of Saturday players are playing on Sunday. When you're training 2-3 times a week and then playing on a Saturday, and some of them journeys on a Saturday are long, and you're out for the whole day, and you come back home and you're knackered. A lot of the times that can get to players. I mean, you see a lot of players just falling out of love with good players as well, just falling out of love with the game, and then they find themselves playing Sunday league, and then all of a sudden they're enjoying the game again. It's mad. The strength of the teams in South London is crazy. I mean, the last 2 London Cup winners, if you look, Grand Athletic and you got Grand Athletic and you've got Lambeth.
Yeah.
The last 2 winners. Yeah. And then if you look at the Junior Cup, you got ourselves and Selhurst also from South London.
That name still
the trophy. and then the trophy, obviously you've got Mildeen this season, and then last season I can't remember who it was, but again, all South London dominating the county cups, the London county cups anyway. But then even on the outskirts of London, you've got some really good teams like in the Leatherhead and District League, which isn't even that far, to be fair. Just, mate, you got Barnes Eagles, the Banstead Rovers, Carshalton. There's a lot of good teams. There's Lambeth Lions even that play in the Croydon League, and then you've got Spartans. Oh mate, it's mad. It's mad. And like a lot of these teams aren't in the same league as obviously SE Dons and Lambeth and those guys. So you might not hear about them as much if you're not from South London, but anybody that's from South London has probably heard of all of these teams, because mate, it's scary. It's scary.
Obviously the wealth of talent as well, like spread out as well, and you get teams in. Obviously, when we played Selhurst, we looked at them and like, oh, these guys are a Division 2 team. They've drawn to Hatch and Beckenham Manor. We obviously knew the quality, but when we got there, the marked quality, the difference. I mean, we played our socks off in that game. We played our socks off. We went 1-0 down. We got an equaliser, but my manager put the ball in the net left-footed. I fucking lost my mind. But they did get a very fortunate decision. But at the end of the day, they took the chance, and then they buried us. And they were quality. And in the end of the day, they deserved, obviously, to win. And I knew they would end up winning the final. But just the quality of every player, they brought on subs. They had 4 or 5 subs. They looked the business, and obviously they've joined your league now, and they started off very fast. They won 5-0 in their first game, so that's obviously the quality, the levels.
Yeah, that's one of the big things. You can look at almost every team. Well, I'm not going to say every team because I don't want to speak for everyone, but you can look at a few teams from South London. Just pick a name out of a hat and look, and then you can look at their starting 11, and then you can look at the name of the subs, and even then you see like, right, if they take somebody off, they're not really weakening the team in any way, shape or form. The quality is still there. It's mad, as you say. We've not personally played against Selhurst yet, but I hope we do at some point. It would be good to play against them. Yeah, but even the things like lower leagues and stuff like that, there's teams in our league like Junction Elite, who are the league below ours. London Ravens, from what I've heard, we haven't played them yet, but from what I heard, they're a very good team. Junction Elite we've played against, and I filmed their cup final, and like if you go through their list of players name by name, it's dumb. it's just dumb. Like their quality is mad.
I was actually shocked because obviously Junction Elite lost in the first round of the Junior Cup to a team we ended up knocking out on penalties. And I was like, these guys aren't too good. But obviously you've mentioned how much quality they've had. Maybe it was an off day for them. So you know, it happens sometimes. But moving on, obviously you guys film all your games. I just wanted to know, obviously, how hard the process is of recording the games, and also your kind of personal views on YouTube teams, like the positives and negatives that they bring to Sunday League football.
Yeah, so the whole the hardest thing is finding a cameraman that can come week in, week out. That's the hardest thing by far. In my point of view anyway. We've been absolutely blessed. So our first season we had a gentleman by the name of David Clark. Was an older gentleman. He had never done any filming before. He was doing it as a favor to me. And he became part of the team. He was brilliant. And then last season, he couldn't do it anymore, which was fair enough. I'm not gonna, obviously, can't really say anything because he was doing it out of his own free will. And then last season we had Brandon Bino, who is the cousin of VJ, who plays for us, and Darren as well, who also play for us. And again, he was down every week, week in, week out. And then the couple weeks that he couldn't make it, we were fortunate enough to get Badger's wife did it. And again, somebody who had never filmed before. She just said, yeah, sure, why not? I'll do it. And she did it. That was when we played against Blackheath. So yeah, that's the hardest thing. I think the hardest thing is that, and we've been blessed enough to be able to always have somebody to do it, except for this week just gone. This is the first week we didn't film our games in the week just gone, unfortunately. But again, Badger's wife messaged me, cussing me, saying I should have asked her because she would have done it. So yeah, I'll hold my hand up for that one and I'll take the blame for it. But other than that, the rest of the process, for me, I don't find it that difficult, if I'm honest. I did it at first. Again, I do all the video editing, I do all the graphics and everything for our videos. At first, obviously, it was a learning curve, but now it's relatively easy, if I'm honest. And if anybody out there wants to learn how to do it, just watch YouTube videos. That's how I learned. I learned how to make all of our lineup graphics, our thumbnails, everything. I learned that off YouTube, and then you learn little techniques. If you have an extra 10, 15 minutes in your life, watch something and you will learn how to do it. It's literally that simple. Everything is on YouTube. And in terms of the positives and negatives of YouTube teams, I mean, it's really weird because me especially, we've been getting our games filmed since before we even joined Southern Sunday, but we never really put them up on YouTube. I used to just send it in the group chat, send the highlights of the goals in the group chat and stuff like that, obviously without graphics, without commentary, without anything like that. And then you get teams like Palmer's and #United, who I think was Spencer FC at the time. And I may be wrong here, but for me, they were like the founders of what you see YouTube teams being right now. Again, they're the first people I saw do it, of course. And again, if I'm wrong, apologies, but it's what I saw. And then obviously you got SE Dons coming up in the last 2-3 seasons, maybe even 4, and they've taken that mode and taken it to a next level. I don't think anyone can fault what SC Dons have done and are continuing to do. If I'm completely honest, it's mad what a Sunday team have been able to achieve. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Obviously, you look at their team and you see their players, they're not what you'd call Sunday League players from the yesteryear, but they are Sunday League players because Sunday League is currently in a position where most of the players are from that quality. So I've seen it online many times, people commenting saying, oh yeah, of course they're going to be that good. They've got all these non-league players playing for them, but so does every other team. Like a lot of other teams have players like that. So kudos to them for being able to take their platform and blow it up. You do get that there is very few negative points from YouTube teams, I think, if I'm honest. And to be fair, the one thing that I can think of is a prime example from what happened this season just gone, where a lot of Saturday got called off, and a lot of Saturday players decided to play for YouTube teams on a Sunday just because. And now you see a lot of teams in trouble. Some teams even folding because they obviously Saturday players have gone back to playing on Saturdays and are no longer committing to a Sunday. And I think that comes from the whole YouTube scene, because I don't think many of those Saturday players would be playing on a Sunday if it wasn't for the hype around the Sunday scene because of YouTube teams.
Obviously, you mentioned your hardest opponents, obviously the London Cup semi-final. But as a defender, who is like, name a couple of the hardest strikers you've had to face over the years?
Oof. Good question. Very good question. I can't personally think of one. And I don't mean that to sound like, oh yeah, I'm great, because I'm not. To be honest, I'm not even a defender. I've only played centre-back for the last 2 seasons because I was a centre-mid, always have been. We just needed somebody to play centre-back, so I've just been playing centre-back ever since. I've never played centre-back on a Saturday before in my life, so yeah, it's only on Sundays. But in terms of a striker that was a handful, honestly, I can't think of any, just because I don't really know many names. I would say maybe the Mundial number 9, I think, mainly because of his movement off the ball. Again, I think he was at Enfield Town, I'm not sure, but his movement off the ball, his first 2 yards were like just sharp. But again, he didn't really do much, not because of me, just because of how defensive we were, and our defensive shape was really good in that game. He did miss a pen, to be fair, but yeah, I can't genuinely think of just one player off the top of my head. Sorry, mate.
It's all right. It's all right. Obviously, we're going to go on to like rules now. So, is there anything that you do like or don't like rules wise, and any kind of ideas that you want implemented in the Sunday League game?
In terms of our league, and to be fair, I think if a few teams put this up to the league, they definitely consider it. I think signing a goalkeeper, for example, and them being cup tied, I think from just that position, I think that could be something that could be looked at, because if you don't have a goalkeeper and you sign one for another team and they've played one game, for example, for a team in that cup, literally just one game, and then they're cup tied and they can't play for you, a lot of teams wouldn't sign that goalkeeper just because he wouldn't be able to play. Us, most certainly last season, we had a situation where Tex went back to Portugal for a while, and we looked at signing a few different goalkeepers, and we just didn't, because they were cup tied, and obviously our league only ran the cup games, so they wouldn't even have been able to play if we had signed them. So I think that could be something that could be looked at, with it being such a vital position. It's a specialist position, really, isn't it? It's not everyone's a goalkeeper. We've had a couple of cup games, to be fair, that we've played VJ in goal, and he's obviously not a goalkeeper. And in terms of Sunday League rules as a whole, boy, I could throw some shots here, to be fair. I think that something needs to be looked at in terms of, most definitely in terms of county cups, where a team has multiple teams, for example. I think something needs to be looked at where teams in different leagues, just because they're under the same banner, so to speak, in terms of players moving around, I don't think that should be something that should be allowed to happen. But again, is what it is.
I'd agree with you there. I'll give you an example. Obviously, Highgate Albion play in our league, and they've now expanded to 4 teams. But their thirds actually got to Middlesex Junior Trophy final, and their thirds were bottom of Division 3, I think, or Division 4. Actually, it was Div 3. Yeah, their thirds were bottom of Div 3, but had a guy, obviously, who I played with called Bradley Osborne, and he played semi-pro before, and he was playing, obviously, for a third team when he came back from an ACL injury and actually played for the Highgate Albion first teams the season before. So it's a very kind of
you get that happening. If you dig deep enough into our cup run from last season, you will see a few things, and that's all I'm saying.
We're lucky we didn't have that.
But
the goalkeeping
again,
problem.
At the end of the day, is but then again, at the end of the day, it's 11v11 on the pitch, and you just go out there and you have to try and win, regardless. And that's what we put it down to. That's why we don't really make any excuses, because at the end of the day, it's 11v11. It's got to do your best.
Yeah. So last question. Overall, your favourite memories from Sunday League football and what it means to you?
Oh, God. Well, okay, so I've not really said this on air before, I don't think. God, on air, you know. I've not said this on a podcast or a video before. I went through a very, very tough time mentally the season before last, because I lost my son. Honestly, mate, if it wasn't for my team, I don't know how I would have gone through it, if I'm completely honest. The boys were there for me whenever I needed it. I was getting messages, and if I messaged someone at 2 o'clock in the morning, or messaged a group chat, somebody would reply, and they'll call me back and everything like that. Honestly, the boys were there for me. And this happened just before the season had started. And there was even a couple of games where we were playing where I had to get substituted. I asked to come off because my mind just wasn't in it. I wasn't thinking straight. And I asked to come off. And then I remember at the final that we had, the Junior Cup final that we had, I won't name the player, but one of the players came to me before the game, and he was like, make sure we do this today for your little one. Let's do this for your son today. And there's little things like that, do you know what I mean? That makes me appreciate the team. And we went out there, obviously, and we won. And I huddled up to the team after the game, and I even said to the boys, I was like, boys, honestly, like, you lot don't know how much this means to me. You lot were all there for me at the hardest time I've ever had in my life, and I couldn't have got through. That for me, that day is special, because simply just because, well, not just because we won, but obviously one of the main reasons that day is very special to me is because that player came up to me and said that before the game. So, bro, let's go do this today for your little one. So I will never forget that day, ever. Little things like that.
How obviously big of a thing in sports mental health is, and obviously how big a team is as well. You know, obviously I've had problems as well in the past, but I feel like my team are always behind me, always there, available to, you know, help you, you know, and obviously with you as well, that's a great thing that your team were behind you. You know, at the end of the day, it's a family. What you're not going to be playing football for just a bunch of randomers. You know, on Sunday, I feel like it's that family aspect of a game. And obviously, when I joined AFC Rose, I knew one player. My friend from work brought me in. I played an Edmonton League game. I didn't have a clue. I was wearing trackies and flipping AstroTurfs, and we got battered 5-2. But since then, I've joined and played 4 seasons. I might not play every game. Obviously, we've got 2 goalkeepers, but at the end of the day, they've supported me, you know, through tough times. And, you know, I've always been grateful. And it's the same for you guys as well. It's the same for people like Andrew, everyone in the Sunday League community. Like, there's always help. And that's like the key thing for me for Sunday League. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, definitely 100%. Mental health, and I'm not shy to say this, mental health isn't something that I used to take very serious until it happened to me. Like, I'm man enough to say that, like, and I'm not talking about the whole situation with my son. I've had things happen to me in the past, and I never used, when I was younger, I used to think, yeah, mental health, I'll be fine. That just isn't the case. It just isn't the case. Again, it goes without saying, if anybody needs to talk or anything like that, reach out to somebody, speak to somebody. There is absolutely no shame in it whatsoever. We all go through it. Mate, I've been on the phone to people in my team before where I've cried down the phone, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But it's helped. And after I get off the phone with them, I'm in a much better place mentally. I just feel better. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder. So I'm not embarrassed to admit that. I'm not embarrassed to say that at all. And if anybody is going through anything, honestly, there is help out there. Obviously, yourselves, if you need to talk to somebody that you don't know, that you feel like is not going to judge you, reach out. There is always somebody available to talk. Maybe not even to talk, maybe just to listen, because sometimes that's all you need. You just need somebody to listen when you're in a dark place. And most certainly I've been there, and I just needed to let it out. And I did, and I felt much better for it afterwards. And don't get me wrong, after you do that, the issues don't just disappear, but it does help massively. And it helps you work through those issues until they do eventually disappear. And they do. They really, really do. There will be nothing that is put in front of you that is too hard for you to ever overcome. So every challenge that gets put ahead of you, no matter how bad it seems, you can overcome it. And sometimes you just need that little push from someone on the outside.
Absolutely, man. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. You know, thank you for your time, and obviously we'll plug your team's YouTube channel on the thing after. But yeah, I just want to say it's been a real eye-opener for me, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. Been a pleasure, mate.
No problem, mate. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having patience as well, because we tried to do this last week, and I think we tried to do it before that as well. But yeah, thank you for the patience, and thank you for having me on, man. Honestly, I appreciate it.
It's nothing, man. I'm gonna go smash up my router now.